You know what I like more than knowledge? Ranking Google My Business listings in the 3-pack that aren't even verified. My name is Chris Palmer, and in today's video, I'd like to discuss how you can rank your local business faster, how you can rank your GMB listings in the 3-pack faster, easier, and how you can get more clicks from maps. So this is geared towards local GMB maps. I'm going to explain a CTR and traffic manipulation network. That's the purpose of today's video. I'd like to discuss because I've had quite a few questions. All right. So as we're moving into 2021 and as of right now, we know that there's at least 7 updates a day. As Google is becoming more and more algorithmic, we know that they're looking more towards user signals. So this is just a quick screenshot of just the most recent, all right? These are just the most recent that have been popping up. As you know, they're going to start looking at page quality. They have a new algorithm coming up. User signals are playing a bigger and bigger factor, which if you've been in SEO, you know this. So I recently did a video. If you haven't checked it out, please go ahead and take a view. But like I mentioned, the network, the traffic manipulation, everything is really geared towards local SEO, Google Maps, and GMB, all right? So if we know that Google is moving to all algorithmic, and we know that user signals are playing a larger and larger part, if we're looking at a GMB listing just like on this one here, we know that Insights is giving us our blueprint. This is what Google is looking at. But we need to give them exactly what they want to see, a perfect click. Now, this screenshot was really just me just playing around with it to see if the clicks were counted, and they were. Now, the next piece of it was sending the signals that Google wants to see, like I mentioned before. Now, what I feel is a powerful signal is signals like, okay, we want to expand proximity. So are people searching from the locations that I want to show up? That's a huge signal. Are people searching for my competition and clicking on my listing? That's a signal. Are people searching for my business and asking for directions or leaving photos? Or are they following the customer evolution? Are they searching for the business? Are they clicking? Are they asking for directions? Are they doing a phone call? Are they then leaving a review? Right? The customer evolution. Sending the signals that Google wants to see. Now, in my particular area, I was just doing some testing, really. I've been testing this for quite some time now, but who's in my area is SEO Harrisburg and Smart Source SEO. SEO Harrisburg is an excellent name because that's super past where I am, right? In Harrisburg, I'm in Tamaqua. But in any case, these being the dominating competition in my particular area, this is who I was really targeting. Plus, I was just testing a few things out. So what I did is I sent particular clicks going back to generating the signals that Google wants to see, and I control it. I was searching for SEO Harrisburg, finding my listing, Smart Source SEO, getting my listing, generating and sending a powerful signal. That's what it's all about. It's all about these user signals. So if proximity is the #1 local factor, like I discussed just before and in past videos, if I can start making geolocation requests from particular areas that I control, and they're consistently coming up, I'm also searching for businesses outside of my proximity, but somehow finding my business, there's something that's called a session. If within a session I'm searching for another business or outside of my proximity and I find my business, that's a huge, powerful signal. This is just one way. So how to generate these signals. Now again, can this be taken outside of the context of, local business, Google My Business and Maps? Perhaps. Have I used it outside of this? No, I have not. I have tested and used to success in these particular key places: local, Google My Business, and Maps. So how do you do it? How do you generate the signals? This is done by what I call a CTR and traffic network. I actually call it a manipulation network, but I didn't want to say that I didn't want it to sound black hat because it's not. So really what I want to cover today right? I've showed just a couple results and, how things are leaning towards, but I want to talk about what it is, how you can get started, and the overall cost. Now, what exactly is it, to touch on that? A CTR and traffic network is a network of devices, or you could look at it as a network of personas that you control. The key here is that you control it. And there's actually two different types. There's 4 types, but we're going to discuss 2 types, which are the most... this is a very new strategy, a newer technique. We're digressing from the bots, and we're realizing, okay, maybe as a supplement they have a little bit of help, but we want to control the action, the evolution of a customer from beginning until end. So there's 2 types of networks. So we have our physical network, which I've tried different types. I've bought in the Raspberry Pis. I've created my own mobile proxies. I've had software that was for sending out mass SMS, also making mass robocalls. I've had that software through my timeshare and travel club agency. That I set up my own little system. I also went ahead and I went on to eBay. I'm a power seller on eBay. If anybody's followed me, they know. I went on eBay and I bought phones. I tested it that way. And we're going to discuss, benefits and drawbacks of each. And what I settled on was actually a virtual network. All right? A virtual network is a lot more scalable. It's something that you can maintain and manage. Plus, the startup cost is a lot lower. So if you have multiple clients, or maybe you want to make money, or whatever the case is, a virtual network is really what I settled on. But why wouldn't I just use a service? There's a lot of services out there that generate clicks, that generate real users and organic, and those services are great. But why wouldn't I just use that service? Like I said, I want to control everything from beginning till end. If you're doing SEO, you want to control everything from beginning until end. So why wouldn't I use services like Mechanical Turk, an excellent service? Have I used it? Yes. Does it work? Yes. Is it a little trickier than other services? Yes. And you can use this. It is help. It can help. But as far as cost efficientness and me being able to control every single aspect of every single element, I want to have control and I want to be cost effective. But what about a very popular, and I like this tool, I've used it quite a bit. Why not micro workers? Again, it's the same exact reason. I want to control. I want to know exactly what's going into a campaign. I want to know from beginning until end, and I want A+ quality. As things are moving on in time, the quality has to be there, just like with your links and your content. Everything, do you think that these services, that those guys aren't building out these networks and using the same stuff? Do you think they're not doing it cheap as possible so they could generate as much money? They're doing it for 50 cents to $1 a click. So, and that's really one of the aspects that this could help you, because that's, in my opinion, from what I saw, a lot of them are doing this. But in any case, you can supplement with these services and they are okay. But I'd rather the control, and I want to know exactly what's going into a campaign. So like I mentioned, you need to control all aspects of a campaign, and you want trusted traffic, and you want to know how that traffic is generated. But not just any traffic. We need click-through traffic. We need to know where it's coming from. Where did it start from? How is the session time? Where is it going? What link did they click? How did they do it? Right? The whole cycle you want to control. It's just like a PBN if you're building links. They're super powerful. You control every aspect. If something happens, you can shut it off. It's the same thing. It's just, we're just taking the local stuff to the next step. That's what this is all about. So, and I wanted to touch on this, and it's not only a matter of, hey, it's trusted and the signals, but if we're looking at a cost to time, benefit, plus, hey, I can't even 100% guarantee that these guys are going to do what they say, and maybe they don't even have a setup that I already have, which I've already figured out. So if you take a look here, and we're doing signals, and for larger campaigns, you'll need more. For smaller, localized, and maps, you'll need less. But when you start taking a look here at the types of click and search, which is what we need, click and search, right? Primarily. For the better quality, it's going to be $1 to 50 cents, 80 cents. As you can see, it's a quick screenshot that I took on my second account. So that adds up. If you have more than one client, the cost can really go up. Now you can charge them, but if you're just a small local business or it's just you and you want a competitive advantage, it's a lot better to control everything yourself. Plus, you don't have to learn a platform. So traffic and click trust, right? Because we're talking about trust here and controlling everything. Where does it all originate from? In my opinion, and it's fact, it starts with the IP address. So, and this was a question that I want to touch on. So why wouldn't I just use a private proxy? Why wouldn't I use a rotating private proxy? Why wouldn't I use a VPN? Why wouldn't I use residential? Now, you can, but it's not optimal. It's not a guarantee. And private proxies, rotating proxies, VPNs, there's other users that are already utilizing these IP addresses. You see? There's already marketers. There's already IG creators, people managing accounts, people scraping all kinds of stuff. Even the private ones, even if you're using a rotating residential, even after the course of time, even if you're using a rotating proxy, it's back connected to an actual IP. Also, a lot of these private proxies, they're IPv4. IPv4 is in a data center. They're already triggered. It's not a trusted IP address. So how do we combat this? Well, mobile is elite. So you'll ask, hey, why don't I just use a mobile rotating? Because mobile proxies are forever changing. And you can at scale. And this is something that I'll teach. Hey, how do you scale this? If I'm just have, myself, maybe I have 5 websites, maybe I just want to rank a couple clients, you can set up your own home network, but there's also a way to scale it that's much cheaper. So these types of services out there can be utilized, but if you're just a one guy, one small shop, SEO, or you have a few businesses, then I can show you how to create your own. So, you know that utilizing mobile proxy, aka the IP address, it's the best now, right? We've gone over why. And I can teach you how you can always have a trusted proxy, right? Because it all starts from that source, from beginning until end. So now you know how to create a trusted click, and you know how it originates. What's the difference? Why don't I do this? Why don't I do that? We've covered that part. So what about hardware costs? Phones are expensive. And I went through this little bit of basis. And phones are expensive. This is a recent click search that I did on Google for used iPhone on eBay. So if you just take a quick look at the refurbished, and these aren't even the newest phones, which doesn't really matter per se, but if you get, say, every phone is $80, we'll say some are $170, especially if you're using, say, iOS or you're using an Android, at least something that can serve, that people are actually using, right? That has at least 5.1 Android or has the newer operating systems, that's something that can run these things. You're going to spend somewhere between, we'll say, $80 a piece. Now, just to make it simple, let's just say 10 phones is $500. So that would just be for a physical hardware setup, and that's phones. But then you have to insert the SIMs, and you have to handle each phone individually, or turn them all on, or maybe you'll have to have different data plans, right? You're handling it, you're doing it. It's not scalable. It's just not realistic, right? It's a lot of work. It's just not realistic. If that's something maybe that, it's achievable, but for me, it's not time efficient. It's not efficient, and there's a better way. So what about the service for each phone? And I just touched on this briefly, right? For each phone or each device, you're going to need a connection to the internet, right? So I went out and I got a quick screenshot from a website, and there's multiple different services, but I took this photo and I combined them because this is generally what you'll go out and you'll find, right? There's 2 different types of service providers. There's CDMA and there's GSM, right? Does it take a SIM card or not? Verizon is a CDMA, AT&T is a GSM, all right, just to get you on base and on board. Does it matter? Not really. However, there's a caveat. In my humble opinion, I want somebody that's going to utilize a lot of different servers, so that way my IP range is a lot more vast. What I mean by this is there's multiple service providers, perhaps maybe Straight Talk, that will use multiple different providers. That way I'm getting a very large range of IP sets. All right, so Straight Talk, Net10, T-Mobile has one, Tello has one. There's a bunch of them out there. But the general price here per phone or per device is about $10 per gig. Now, you might get cheaper the more you buy, but you want a reputable service that utilizes a lot of other reputable service towers. It's the easiest way that I can explain that. So I'm showing the cost of what it would be, but if you have 10 devices, you'd have to do it times 10. So that's 100 plus I have to buy the things. That's every single month. You see, it's a recurring basis. So it seems like a lot of work. Why wouldn't I just use a traffic bot, right? And I touched on this a little bit at the very beginning. Why wouldn't I just use a traffic bot? Well, you could, and I have. I've tried them all. PandaBot. I've tried Diabolical Traffic Bot. I've tried all the different little ones that I found, like on Fiverr or Conquer. They build out these bots. I've tried Supreme, Panda. There's a bunch of them that I have. Right? And I've tried them out. And if you've played with any of these devices or tools or softwares in the past, you get mixed results. Another reason why I think that the bots really aren't up to par is because if you feel that Google is advanced, which I feel that they are, can they track mouse movement? I think that mouse movement could be a user signal that they could be looking at. I would find that it would be hard, but it could happen. Also, the IP ranges, we're going back to the IPs that you have to use. Diabolical Bot has its own little IP set, which a bazillion people have used, SEOs primarily. If you use Jingling, again, scraping again, you're using IPv4, server-based or data-based proxies. Even if you hook it up to a residential proxy, eventually that pool of 23 million can get used up very fast, whether you're using Storm or whatever you're using. What I'm getting at here is it can be supplemented if you're using a little bit of paid traffic and you want to send in just a little bit more for a boost. Primarily, I like bots for, say, secondary properties that I own. But when I'm looking at my money site or looking at entities that are directly correlated to my business, I want to control everything and I want to know that the IP range and everything is completely clean and it looks as realistic as possible. So there's no trouble. So that's why. So, and I just touched on this, but just like link building, you want to keep things as natural as possible, right? Like I mentioned before with the PBNs, you don't just blast a site, or just like I mentioned with the traffic bots, it's the same thing over and over. You want to keep things natural. Plus, SEO is consistently evolving. As you know, there's consistent changes. There's always something new happening and changing. As it's becoming more and more algorithmic, like I mentioned before, user signals are going to be looked upon more and more. So you need a competitive edge, an edge that only a few experts as of now use. Something that's cost effective. Something that's safe for you and your clients. And I put a star there because with any strategy or technique or anything like that, there's always going to be risk. I'm not going to say that this is risk averse 100% because nothing is, especially if you're trying to manipulate something, right? But it's going to be a lot safer than sending traffic from a bot from a data center proxy, all right? Or a rotating residential or whatever you're doing that's already been used a million times. So also, you want something that maybe you could sell, whether you're selling a setup, whether you're selling the actual service, whether you're selling a ranking, whether you utilize the training and you use it for something else. It's something that you can literally go out and start making money from immediately. So you want something that's safe, you want something that you could sell, something that's going to help you, and most of all, something that's effective. So really, I tried to cover everything the benefits, the pros, the cons, the cost advantages. I'm offering a training that's called CTR and Traffic Manipulation Network. I'm walking you through the basis that if you're just a normal guy, you have 1 client, 5 clients, 10 clients, or if you want to scale, I'll get into a section where I can teach you how to scale it. And for a very low startup, less than it would cost you to buy 5 phones, actually a quarter of what it would cost you, I can show you how you could get set up and started immediately. I left a link in the description. So if you're interested in learning about CTR and traffic manipulation, you want to know how to set up your own network, check the link in the description below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next SEO, local SEO, how to rank in Google Maps video. Have a blessed day. All right, if there's any questions,